I'm Jessica Minton for IB Times TV, and I'm joined by Jonathan Corpina from Meridian Equity Partners, who's going to speak to us today about the Cyprus bailout as well as its effects on the global markets. Jonathan, it's good to see you again. I hope you had a happy St. Patrick's Day holiday.
Thank you very much.
So we saw today, earlier in the day, stocks started to decline because of the issues with the Cyprus bailout. How concerned are investors about Europe right now?
I think investors are overall concerned about Europe and all geopolitical data and information that comes out there. But what I think we've seen over time is that this market has become resilient to bad news. And now it comes down to what exactly is bad news that's going to move this market. Now, if you look at the S&P future trading yesterday, clearly we saw the headlines of what was going on and what we were expecting today. But it's quite surprising to see the way the market has rebounded from this. We've all spoken about it all day long to exhaustion. We've all dissected it. We've all talked about the ripple effects of how this can expand from Cyprus out to other countries. But it just shows me that our market takes time to digest information and starts to shrug off a lot of the information that's out there and really starts to focus on some more of the important aspects of our current U.S. markets, and that's our economic data that we continue to get out of Washington, and that's our expectations of where we're going to be in the next few quarters. So it's quite refreshing to see the way the market has rebounded today.
Cyprus is the fifth country in the Eurozone to request a bailout. If Parliament does pass this bill, can the contagion be contained to Cyprus, or do you think it would be able to spread?
I think we might see spread there because what's good for one might be good for others is what their mentality might be, and it seems like everyone in the Eurozone has been focusing on the countries there that have gotten themselves into trouble and trying to find out how to get them out of trouble. Does that mean helping them or kicking them out? So I think it's time that this has reared its head back up again, and it's time to really address the problem here, and hopefully we can have them figure this out and move forward with it, because these are the same conversations that we had 9-10 months ago, and then Europe went very quiet for a while. So now we're starting to see this come back again. But clearly there's a problem, there's an issue there that has to be addressed on the forefront and try to come to some sort of resolution as it is. But clearly the headlines that we got out of Cyprus is very alarming, because if that starts there and starts occurring in other countries, we're going to start seeing a lot of revolution, a lot of unhappy citizens revolting, because it's clearly something that we didn't think they would actually come and put in place.
Now, the Troika, the ECB, the IMF, they wanted to make cuts to the bailout package. Are basically the issues here less to do with Cyprus and more about the fact that they made these series of cuts?
I think Cyprus is just presenting themselves as an example. I think overall you have to look at what can happen and what has happened. So, I mean, Cyprus might be in the forefront of these drastic measures that we're seeing now that came out over the weekend, but I think on a bigger whole, there are some bigger issues there, both internally of the countries and Europe as a whole, that have to be addressed and have to be looked at. The monetary policies, unemployment, spending, bailout packages, what's needed. Clearly it's something there that has to be addressed. And these topics, as we continually talk about and cover in the media, has effects on our markets all around.
And finally, like you mentioned earlier, with the markets, it seems like anytime in Europe when either a leader says something or there's something going on with a bailout, the U.S. markets, we were doing great, and then all of a sudden that happens, and then it starts to dip. How long do you think that these issues in the Eurozone can continually psychologically affect the global markets?
I think we're going to continue to see them for time to come, but the overall effects on our market, I think we will see short-term effects. I don't think we're going to see long-term effects. And I was saying the same thing this morning, but the short-term effects were very short. I didn't expect the market to rebound as strong as it did today. I expected the market to kind of bounce off its lows and find a nice range. I didn't expect it to move the way it is moving. So yes, the European markets are going to continue to have an effect on our market. But there's the other side to that coin. If we get bad news out of Europe and good news out of domestically, how good is that good news? Is it strong enough to offset the negative news that we get coming out of Europe? So we've got home numbers that are coming out tomorrow. We're going to get more comments coming out of Washington. We've got initial claims, continuing claims coming out later this week. I think the information that we're going to get out of Washington as far as economic data is going to be strong enough to overpower the negative news that we continue to get out of Washington. The thing that I think can really throw a wrench in it is a month, 2 months down the road if we start seeing other countries taking on the same policies that Cyprus did today.
Thank you for joining me, Jonathan. It was good to see you again.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.